So, welcome to the system design interview for today. I think
Please,
today we
oh,
are going to be is designing with George. So, right away, the question is you work at a news firm and they want to do um, a data warehouse system, right? So, what basically they want to be doing is they want to be able to take information from multiple sources and do scalable analysis with the information that they get. So your task today is to design a data warehouse system for them that would solve these requirements that they have for the particular system. So right from the bat, the things that your system should be doing is to aggregate and transform the information that they are trying to pull from other sources.
sorry, you can go on.
Okay,
Don't mind.
sure. And what they also want to be able to do is, since it's a data warehouse, they want to be able to query the data, and they want to be able to do that with SQL easily. And the responses for those queries that they are going to do should be sub-second queries, regardless of whatever data is in the data warehouse at that particular point. So this is the requirements for this particular system. I don't know if you have questions for me.
Um, yes, so I have a few questions.
Okay.
Can I please have the question like also on the whiteboard?
Sure. So
Yeah, thank
the
you.
question is, I don't know if you want to type it or you want me to paste it for you so you can
Oh, can you please paste it so it will be easier for all of us?
right. So the news firm wants to give me a sec. So I'm doing it in this way for you. I hope you've received the text for.
Yes,
I've left out a few
so
things from it, so just to make things clear from that end.
uh, selecting text to this trackpad is so hard. Yeah. Okay, so I have a few more questions. Okay, so we are supposed to aggregate and transform the data. So what kind of data are we working with? Are we working with like text or images or documents or something like that? So, like what kind of
The ideal case is multimedia, but in in all these sources of data, the most prominent is text. So even if it's a video, we can get a transcript to do whatever we want from it. If it's audio, you can use the text as well. You can transcribe and use the text. And blogs, wherever we find that particular information, we end up using text. So the primary object of data you're going to operating on is just text.
okay, so from what I just got, can we safely assume the data we are going to be working with is unstructured data? So like doesn't have any structure. So out of the box, we don't have we can't query them using like SQL. We have to transform before we can work on it.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. Um, do we have like a maximum like size for like a single unit of data? So let's say we have data from client A Like, do we have a maximum size that that particular data can be it text or transcription? Like,
Currently, we do not have a limit on the data that we are trying to source from.
okay, if you don't have a limit, can I put a limit on it myself?
Yeah, you're allowed to.
Okay. Okay. Um. So the system is a data warehouse. So since it's a data warehouse, we are storing the data. Do we have like leeway for maybe we get data from clients and then we transform them into information basically. So the people who are going to access our data warehouse, um, do we have like a certain leeway for downtime or something like that?
As a news platform, we have operational hours that are quite non-negotiable for anyone, because we, at the end of the day, we want to be able to have our news item at the end of the day as around 6 p.m. to broadcast. So downtime is relative to the peak hours and of work, and I believe there's a there's a reasonable downtime that we will accept for this particular system. And I don't know if you have expectations on that. We can communicate on from that level.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think I would like to like start tackling the design for the system like formally now.
Okay.
So I think to start with, I'd like to note down certain functional requirements. So we have aggregate the data, and the system should aggregate the data. The system should transform the data. Um, what kind of transformation are we looking at? Okay, so I think it was stated that to be able to like query with SQL, that means we have to normalize the data into with okay. Okay. Um,
Can you come again with what you just said?
um, I was going to ask like what kind of like structure are we looking for in the transformation, but I realized we are supposed to make it like queryable with SQL. So then we have to like make it relational.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm quiet, but I'm still looking for additional functional requirements.
Okay.
So we have so the system should um yeah respond to queries. Yeah. So I think are these enough for the functional requirements based on like the system requirements that we're given.
Yeah, I see it to be so. So yes, you can
Okay.
continue from your analysis.
So then for the non-functional requirements, okay, let's start with responses should be less than 100 milliseconds. Okay. Since it's a data warehouse and we are going to be querying it a lot, we can safely assume um, we are going to prioritize reads. Yeah, so the system should be consistent. Yeah, because if we have the consistency, then our queries would be accurate. Um, system should be consistent in responses. Mhm. Okay. Our system should how many can I know how many concurrent like um how do we say this requests we can have? Yes, so like what's the maximum number of requests we can have?
With the request,
Because use
are you combining the writes and the reads at the same time?
no, just for the reads. So like how many concurrent reads can we have? Sorry.
Yeah. So, given the size of our firm, we have many outlets and we are all consuming the same information from the same source. So, from the given number of 100 journalists per branch, and we have over like 50 branches, um, I would say during peak times, every single worker is actively making 100 requests per per hour to the system to get information that they can use for the evening broadcast.
Okay, so you are saying we have 50 branches and 100 workers per
Yes.
branch.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 5,000 reads in. And so for the rights, um, yeah, is it going to be similar or that's going to like
Our rights are a bit random, right? Because what our existing infrastructure is doing is trying to find news sources that can be relevant to whatever news item that we want to present at the end of the day. So, in most cases, what we usually have for rights is more skewed to the fact that someone has to report something. So, in most cases, right now, what we want to do is to automate the system so you can assume um, a given number for how many relevant information we can pull from the sources to write into our data warehouse system.
okay, okay. So that's going to be random, but let's say it's less than the 5K reads per hour to probably 400 writes per hour. Is this acceptable?
Yes, this is a likely item.
Okay. Okay. So, um, can I know if these are enough non-functional requirements for our data warehouse?
I believe these are suitable for achieving what you have for the functional requirements. So yes.
Oh, thank you. So, I think we can move on to the API design.
Right.
Okay. So, for the first API design, we should be able to aggregate the data. So we are taking data from the client. Okay. So we are taking data from the client to our service. So it's going to be um hmm, okay. are we also dealing with um, where the preliminary data is stored, the unstructured data? Are we also dealing with that?
Could you reiterate on what you just said? I didn't
Okay,
catch
so
that.
I want to know if our data warehouse is also like storing the unstructured data, then we get the unstructured data from our our own like servers, and then we pass them through a data pipeline to do the transformation.
Ideally,
Or
yes, because
that
before we can do any transformations, we need to know where the data is, or it's really suitable to how you want to go with it. Because if
okay?
you're
So
asking me this question, means you are assuming that there are two tracks where you can do the transformation through the pipeline, or you can store before you do the transformation, right?
oh, I was asking because like I wanted to know if the data we are getting to store in our warehouse is from like a third party or from random sources,
Well, yeah,
or we have
definitely random
storage
sources.
in our warehouse. Definitely random sources.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
but in this
So
case, you can assume these random sources to be any defined sources that you want. So it can be from YouTube, it can be from another website, it can be from interactions on the social media, those anything that you seem useful
okay.
to solve this.
Okay. So our first API endpoint is what is going to get the what do you call it? The data from our third party sources.
Before
And
you continue, can I know the reasoning why you are doing um, an API? What's the overview of what you are trying to design with the API there?
so I was trying to map out how like the data comes in, and then how we are going to transform it, and then like finally do the storage,
Okay,
and then like
okay,
yeah.
okay.
So I don't know if maybe because we are getting from third party sources, are we going to be utilizing a web crawler?
Yeah, that solves the problem. Yes.
Okay, so you should use a web crawler to get the information. Okay, so so does this interview also focus on designing the web crawler, or we can just assume the web crawler is something that has already been built and then
Yes, you can assume there's an ingestion pipeline for ingesting information into your system.
okay. Okay, that's um, hmm, yeah. So think we can, since the web crawler is going to handle the aggregation of the data for us, we can I think skip that as on the API design level, and then
Um,
move.
I don't think I mentioned that the caller is going to um, aggregate the data. I mentioned that it's just going to ingest information to your system.
Okay, okay, thank you for that correction. Okay, so okay, okay, yeah, so then we move on to transform the data. So I think for my APIs, the first one is going to do the aggregation. So when the web crawler ingests the data gotten from multiple sources, we use the first one to aggregate them into, like, maybe if it took from YouTube, we aggregate based on certain criteria before we do the transformation.
Okay.
Then the post is what is going to handle all the data transformation that we are going to do. Then the third one, the get data slash structured data, is the API that is going to be talking with our clients to send back the structured data they need, basically the news firms, what they are going to use to access our data warehouse to fetch the data they need.
Okay.
So does this API design satisfy um, the requirements, or you have some input you would like to give?
All right. Can we? I want to find out how your assumed web crawler would work, in the sense of like providing you with the data for your system for you to do the transformations as well. What is the operational nature of your web crawler, if you could add?
Can you please expand on that? I don't really get the question.
Right. In a sense of your ingestion pipeline where data is being thrown at you to your system, right? How is
Yeah.
the data being thrown at you, in a sense, to your system? If you have any idea of how it's supposed to be. Um,
Okay. So, oh, can you please finish?
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. It could be in like small bits. It could be packaged at a particular time. How is your system assuming that particular is consuming that particular information from the web crawler?
Um. Okay. This is a very interesting one. So I think since we are a news outlet, yeah. So I think the web crawler is going to aggregate, is going to ingest um, from multiple sources at specific times. So we can say maybe in the mornings and in the evening, because like it's collecting news sources from, or data from multiple um, sources at specific times, and then ingesting it into our system.
Right, right. Specific times, as in given intervals.
Yeah, given intervals.
Okay, okay, great. I think you can proceed from here. Your design is favorable.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So to start with, um, we can have the clients, which is going to be um, this is going to be the third party data sources, or we can just say data sources. Yeah. And then with the data sources, they go through the web crawler. Okay. So you can see the data sources move through to the web crawler. Then the web crawler. Okay. So then we could call this our API gateway was based on um, the kind of transformations we are going to do. I don't think only one system is going to handle the multiple transformations. So we can have like a load balancer in there to split the load amongst the system that are going to do the transformations.
Okay, in that sense,
Yeah.
is that are there going to be diagrams describing the actual items that are going to be doing the transformations, or this is supposed to encompass everything between the load balancer and the
You want to do
services
the
that are,
transformation.
yeah.
Okay, so there are going to be additional diagrams encompassing the systems that are going to do the transformations, but I don't think I can shed light on what kind of transformations they will be doing, since I really don't have any idea what kind of transformations they will be doing. But we can just call them maybe a transformation service, and that way um, we share the load amongst them.
Okay.
Okay. So from here we can move on to our transformation service. Okay. You can have multiple services, yeah, that are going to handle the transformation. Okay, so from the transformation, they move onto like the actual databases. So, like where we are actually going to like store them. And I think for since we are transforming them from um, unstructured data to structured data, we are going to be using a relational database because those are like going to be easier to query with SQL.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay. So I think this high level design covers the data aggregation and then the transformation. So for responding to queries, you can have clients that is going to be maybe there are news reporters or our editors that are sourcing for information from our data warehouse. And these also make requests to our API gateway. And then from there, the request goes to from from the API gateway, we move to the database. So
Can you color the the
database
the
or the
request for, yeah, so I can see
the
the
line.
differentiates between the two?
Okay. Um, let's see. Oh, sorry. Alright,
You can just select the line
I
there.
can just select them. Yeah. So okay. Um. Okay. So oh sorry. So basically, so once we have the queries, then we move from. No, I can just. Um. Is there a way to make the arrows double-sided?
I'm not quite sure, but since you mentioned, I think we can assume that they're almost sided.
Okay. 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 Thank you. So now for the non-functional requirements, our responses should be less than 100 milliseconds. So is it okay to assume that the transformation service works as we expect, and then like there is no like yeah, it works as we expect.
In each design, there's likelihood of our systems to fail. So you need to have a civil proof robust solution for ensuring that transformation services do not fail in what they are doing.
Okay. Okay. So to fail proof our transformation service. Okay. I think I'd like to move on to other things and then come back to that one
Okay,
later.
sure.
By the way, can I know how much time I have left?
Thank you.
You have 11 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so okay, so making the queries with SQL. Our clients make queries with it,
Yeah.
and the API gateway handles that. So our API gateway would have a rate limiter to um, handle the load. Yeah, yeah. So we can just like put a small box here. Okay. So we call it the load balancer.
So I
Okay.
believe what you're trying
So
to do here is checking if your system can actually handle the non-functional requirement.
yeah. Okay. So for the non-functional requirements, I was going to start with the responses should be less like how fast it should be.
Okay.
But since we are dealing with like a read heavy like system, and we want to make sure our data is consistent, um, whenever like a request goes through for structured data, we can lock the like the parts of the data that we are trying to read, just so sorry, when we are updating, when we are updating the database with what do you call it, with more structured data, is so we can lock what we are trying to write, just so the clients get the consistent responses.
Okay, okay. Would they get, since you have multiple databases? Would they get the same database because you have multiple versions of them, and I'm assuming that they might not have the same data depending on the transformation service information that's being sent to them. So in that effect, I'm asking if your database will have, all your instances of the database will have the same information.
No. So what we can do is we can split the transform data amongst our databases using location. Yeah, so it can be location based. So we are basically splitting the database into regions. That way, depending on the region you are requesting from, you go to that database housing the particular data you want, and then you are serviced. Yeah.
But does that apply to the news firm, the operations of the news firm?
Well, yeah, because I think you did mention there are over 50 branches, and we can have branches all over the world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So then I think you should apply it to the news firm too.
Okay, fantastic.
So we can say something like during peak hours too, because I think you did mention during peak hours we should support 5K reads per hour. So during peak hours, we can sort of cache the most frequently requested data. Yeah, so we can cache the most frequently requested data, just so we wouldn't have to be going to the databases, to the database all the time. So we can put this at the API gateway. Yeah, because when the request comes, the API gateway can know where it's supposed to go, and then we call, check if it's in the cache. If it's in the cache, then we are fine.
Can you describe what you are trying to analyze currently?
Currently, I'm trying to see how to handle the rights. Yeah. how to handle the writes.
I believe you have like 2 minutes left. Could you, if you have
2 minutes.
conclusions to make, maybe this is the advisable time to conclude on your solution for the problem.
Okay. Uh, I don't think like there's nothing coming to mind right now, so I think this is my final design.
Okay, can you give an overview of how your design solved the problem? As in, like, final words for.
Oh, okay. So final words. This is a design for a data storage warehouse for like a news outlet that aggregates data, transforms them into like structured data, and then users can query the transformed data for their own purposes. So we have a web crawler that ingests data into our system, and when it ingests into our system, API gateway routes the payload to the correct transformation service, and the transformation service is supposed to handle the transformation from the unstructured data to the structured data. And once it is done, it then stores it in the database. Our database is split via region, just so it will be like there wouldn't be a lot of traffic on the database. Yes, and we have the cache that caches the frequently requested information from our database at peak hours. So that is like the request directly from the API gateway goes to the cache to see if we have it, and if we do, then we return it back to the client. If we don't, then we go to the database and then retrieve our query.
Right. Fantastic. I think we can conclude here if there's anything not to add. Yes, this is the part where I open the floor for people to give suggestions before we get the final verdict on this. And then, yes, a round of applause if you can unmute and clap for him. It's done well. It's done well. Yeah.
I'm also recording now.
Yeah, we're still recording. Yeah, you're free. You're free from the chains.
The open floor, is it questions or?
Yeah, this is questions, feedback. Before I give my final feedback and things. Yeah, I think Greatness had something to say during the interview.
Yeah.
You can, yeah. Yeah, Phil, if you want to go first, yes.
Yeah, I want to know why we are just querying straight from the database.
Why we are
Are we
querying?
assuming your API gateway has like maybe the service under the hood? And then also, I wasn't paying attention, but like, what is that box in the API gateway? Those are my
So
three
it was
questions.
supposed to be like a load balancer that will like route a request to the database.
Oh, okay. And I was saying like, is your API gateway having a service that queries the database, or how is your API gateway querying?
Yes, the API gateway has a service that queries the database.
Okay.
Why are you laughing? Yes. Was the answer satisfactory? I think you can give feedback if you feel the answer was wrong.
Yeah,
This is the part.
ideally we could have had a service that handles like the routing from the API gateway to the database. But yeah, I think it's all in the API gateway today.
Right. Right. Exactly. Maybe I should just give my expectations on the
Oh, I'd like
database.
to hear what Greatness had to say.
Okay. Is he? Someone should prompt him on the Discord. Maybe he's out or something like that. But before he comes, let me just chip this in. Um,
Oh,
um, so the general expectation for this was you to design a system to basically do data warehousing. So let me describe what data warehousing. I was hoping you would ask me how we do data warehousing. So data warehousing is essentially a concept for taking data from a variety of different sources, which we went over extensively, and transforming the data before loading them into a central data store. Um, the store is often called a data lake and is optimized for holding and analyzing huge amounts of data, even unstructured data. So I believe the reason why Philippa was asking you that particular question is, in a sense, what you just did here hasn't really conformed, um, um, because for a start, your your unstructured information should stay somewhere before it gets transformed. I don't know if we glossed over it or we assumed that we will not be storing the information. No, did that particular thing come up during the entire conversation or interview?
I don't think we discussed that, but I assumed the transformation service is going to handle all of that for us.
Right.
That is
Maybe
what
that
like
wasn't really
I asked
communicated.
if
Yeah.
are we assuming the transformation service is fully functional and then yeah, stuff like that.
Right. And so yes. So in essence, you could have, from your design, if I'm to go over your design, what you could have had is data source, the injection engine, which is your caller, your data lake that's going to store the information, your transformation service, whatever transformation you will do, then to the end will be the databases for distributed access for all the branches that we have. That is just the peak of it. Like I also said during the questioning, I wanted to know if you wanted to know if the transformation service was going to be functional. I mentioned that in most cases things are prone to fail. So failure is something that we accept. So maybe you could have something to guard against it. And I'll go into brief about why I wanted to put you into that direction. So, the thing is, your as you described, there's supposed to be an injection into your system, right? So something has to put information into your lake, then you transform it, then it becomes available structured, because the requirement is that they need to be able to do it with SQL to your relational databases. So we could have tackled from the should I say
Oh,
the
go on. Sorry.
injection part, right?
Yeah.
In the injection part, we assumed a lot of things. We just said a caller is just doing the injection. I was trying to hint you about the type of things the caller could be doing. The caller could be doing some batch processing, but I think you mentioned that it can be active during some specific times within the day. So that qualifies as having some sort of batch processing items. In a sense, I also asked if you have alternatives to the injection flow. So maybe you could contrast between, maybe when we find data, we just send it to the to our service to do whatever with it, to store it, to do whatever we want to do that. So you could have contrasted, or maybe the we could have done batch processing for the data injection. We could have done streaming for the data injection, so as to keep up with
Yeah.
the requirement. Yes, because we know news items come here in and out. Something can just happen instantly, and maybe it's a breaking news. But because our batch job is not going to be scraping the information before we find out, it's going to be an issue. So I feel we could have expanded more on that end. But maybe yes, maybe because the pressure of the interview caused you not to think about that, and that's excusable. So for the injection part, that could have been something that we could have looked at. On the main service part, since we know that anything can fail in the system, if the injection is not able to inject information to your system, there needs to be something that holds the information in place before it gets to your system. And in reference to what I'm saying is, you could have like a queue or something to help you make keep the information redundant before it gets to your data lake, as part of the data warehousing stuff. So in that effect, that means you could have stored the information or in the queue or Kafka queue in the broker. The message broker will just keep the information. Since our system is likely to fail, we can just wait and ensure that whenever we are live again, or in case where there's a disaster, we can recover the information that we are scraping from the callers and ingest it into our system. So that's something we could have considered from that end as well. So I think that's why Philippa was asking that particular question, which is also part of that covers the injection and the data lake part. And the transformation services could have been just straightforward, since there are also likelihood of these things to also fail. You could have a queue to ensure that this particular thing is corresponding to is corresponding. I don't know what she's saying. Yeah, the queue. We are supposed to do transformations, right? And they are basically jobs. So we need to also queue those jobs so that we know that these jobs don't get lost, even if our transformation services go down. Those are so in your design, you could have something to also queue the information so that you know that the systems are keeping everything in structure well and processing your items well. And from that end, that's the part remaining is the querying, where I asked you a question about is your databases are going to have the same data all across board, which is a requirement because we said we wanted to do scalable analysis, right? So, but I think you made a good answer by saying that you chart the database according to region. That presupposes that we have the structure that we are putting into the database has something to do with the regions as well. But yes, maybe that could have been included. But the essence here is the database should have some level of consistency, and you can only achieve consistency if you have data across multiple the data across multiple databases having the same or having some relevant parts of the information which are going to be the same for the clients when they query it. So these were the expectations for all the parts for the system. I believe you covered the major parts of the system, but these are the kind of things that I was expecting from you to like hit on well. Overall, you can judge yourself by the expectations. If you feel they didn't do good, that's it. And this is basically the expectations.
Judging yourself, dear, is a trap.
Oh, it's not a trap. It's not a trap. But yeah, this is all I expected from the entire presentation, design interview, right? I don't know if Ephraim is back. Maybe you can ask the question that you wanted to ask.
Please, can you stop recording?
Oh, why?
Oh, I want to say some things. That's why.
Let me stop.
So we have
Like, Ephraim's question could be
could
very
be useful as well.
beneficial to the
I
recording.
think whatever
Okay,
you want
okay,
to
let
say,
Ephraim
just say it in the Discord, because I don't know if someone is going to sit down and merge, like, because we have questions and like reviews too.
Please go. I can go like after.
Okay, no problem. You let me stop it. I don't think Ephraim is there unless we prompt him to come and ask a question. Maybe he's away.
What
from
about
him.
the reviews?
Yeah, the reviews. Yeah, maybe we can we have the reviews now?
Okay. Should we have the reviews live on call?
Nah,
We should take the review part out.
I'll take it out.
I mean,
So let me
I
stop
can give
recording.
my own.
Let me stop recording. Let me stop recording.
Ah,
So this is the end of the conversation. I'm stopping recording now, so I can cut the remaining 2 minutes of conversation out of the video. Peace out.
Understand.